Good evening and happy Sunday. Welcome to the We Are Rise show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing out there on this great Sunday? It's very hot, very humid. Welcome into Sunday Soundbites, where this week's earth-shattering news, okay, let's put it that way, usually ends up needing a disclaimer or course correction or a therapist. I know after tonight, I'll probably need a therapist because I don't know about you and I don't know how you're feeling right now, but I'm disgusted in a lot of ways about what I'm seeing right now, especially about what this great American state fair that's supposed to take place. And, are we supposed to be upset or angry, or are we lucky that, President Trump has decided to move on from everybody out there of these, let's just say this organizing group, this nonprofit organizing group, this Freedom 250, who basically, they shit the bed? Or was this purposely intended in some way to embarrass President Trump, embarrass America, with all these people pulling out? It's just ignorance, it's arrogance, it's hubris, it's hatred, it's disgusting. They hate this country, and you should hate them back even more. And I'm going to go batshit crazy tonight because I'm so angry about this. But you know what? In the end, President Trump wins, America wins, and a lot of people are not going to have to deal with this nonsense going forward. Great Americans will step up. Yes, Trusty Turnham. So welcome in over here in pill.net. Hello over on YouTube. And what's up, Dog on Rumble? Yes, everybody's matriculating in. We're going to get to all that stuff. I want to say hello to a couple of people. Let me just get a couple of things out right now. Let me drop that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to have a relaxing Sunday. I haven't done a Sunday show in a while. I think the last one was with Thomas. And so I wanted to get back into it. But there was so much stuff that I was just reading through, and I just get focused on. I can't let it go. And I got to archive it and then really discuss it and break it down. And it's been a good part of the day doing that because, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know how you're feeling out there today about all this stuff, but I'm just embarrassed by the fact is that there are people who are just not willing to, in some way, find their inner self or their soul in some way to want to celebrate this country and the anniversary and the birthday. They don't want to do it. They just hate this country, and you know what? That's why we're so vitriolic. That's why we're going to push back harder. I'm just disgusted with these people. So welcome to pill.net. What's going on? I see you, Wood USA. Thank you again. Good to see you. Happy Sunday, one and all. Thank you for the 217 gold pills. I see you, Trusty Turnip. Who else is here tonight? Senior Polo, what's up? Thanks for the shades, man. Thanks for the Sunday show. No, you're welcome. I know I got to get back to doing it more, and it depends on my time frame. And if I'm out biking all day in this heat, and it's just been 90 degrees left and right, and it's just humid. I come home, I'm like, I'm sleeping in the shower, taking a cold shower because I'm just brutal. Yeah, no, dog, fuck them. Yeah, good to see you over there. What's up, MG615? Hello, long time no see. I dropped the actual StreamYard. If you want to chat, I mean, nobody came in on Friday. They just wanted to whatever. But then I had some people reach out to me the other day and said, I caught the show and stuff. Sorry, couldn't call in. So it's just me, you, and everybody else out there tonight. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what's happening as everybody slowly moves in and stuff. You know what to do to support the platform. Help us out. Like, share, and subscribe. That's the most important thing. Yes, Vanilla Ice, Kid Rock, Ted, John Rich, Trace Atkins. So this is the update you're suggesting, Trusty Turnip, because I heard Tim Pochette say John Rich, Kid Rock, and whatever. So, yeah, I don't know if this – I know Vanilla Ice made some good commentary. This is not about politics. This is about celebrating America. And, that's good. I don't know if we're going to change what President Trump has suggested. He had proffered this thought they're going to do a MAGA rally instead. And obviously, I mean, he's the biggest attraction out there. I mean, have you seen his TikTok account? It's like billions of people. I mean, honestly, it's like he's got 1 billion followers, some ridiculous amount. What's up, Linda Perino? Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, everything is dumb clown show. I'm done with the stupid movie. People are dying, etc. We're being rug pulled because other evil plans are being put in place by the ones we think aren't. Yeah, it's biblical. Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, again, I always ask you out there, do you think the UAP transparency is a distraction in some way? Is it real truth? Or is it people really want this information in some way to say, hey, look, this is what the government was hiding from you. You figure it out. What do you think in some way? Or is it something else? I don't know. I mean, the Epstein stuff was clearly a distraction. We understood that. We understand why that was put in place. And many of these people that they're already out. I mean, they're already out. I mean, Nancy Mace is on her way out. I mean, let's put it this way. President Trump endorsed Pam Evitt, Nancy Mace's rival for the governor. She's finished. So, and I don't care how much she wants to like embrace President Trump saying she was never a Trumper anyway. She was a slick Thomas Massey, and she's got her own personal predilections and other things. Let's get into tonight's stuff that are discussing. President Trump makes a huge announcement about America and the 250 concert. Now, I'm just going to skip through it, despite the organizers insisting, because I got a couple articles I want to break this down. Despite organizers insisting time and time again that America 250 and all the associated festivals are intended to be unifying celebration, media outlets continue to hype the supposed MAGA affiliation. All led up to the statement by President Trump. This was huge. This, I think, really, this just put everything over the top, and I think really people really need to look at this and understand what he is saying here. It's not just what happened with the Trump Kennedy Center and with the injunction and forcing President Trump's name to be removed there. This whole thing is now backfired, and it's going to be ugly. Truth Social puts out a giant Make America Again rally for 250 instead of having overpriced singers who nobody wants to hear, whose music is boring, and yet do nothing to complain. Exactly. The Commodores, Young MC, Brent Michaels. I mean, Morris Day and the Time. How outdated of music can you be? Does Gen Z and the millennials want to hear that? I mean, that's maybe good for boomers and certain other people. Young MC, I don't even know what Young MC is. Brett Michaels from Poison. Didn't he win the 2010 Trump thing that he had, the Apprentice? Wasn't that going on? I don't know. I mean, honestly, but, the fact is that he used the excuse, well, I bail for safety concerns and stuff. Are you kidding me? Safety concerns? Like you're not going to be in the safest place going where the National Guard and many other, let's just say military and other people are there going to be protecting this and overseeing this. That's just a joke. These people are hypocrites and opportunists. Let me continue on. Because a highly conflicted, crooked federal judge said I should not be allowed to spend my time and my money in order to make the great again, to make the center great again. And this is the Kennedy Center, which is the Trump Kennedy Center, or the Kennedy Trump Center, whatever. Actually far greater than it was ever before. Trump also lamented a federal judge's ruling on Friday over the president renaming the Kennedy Center, which called for Trump's name to remove from the center in 14 days. Now, this judge basically came out and said, well, since this was put in place by Congress, then it's Congress's action to do this. Look, I don't know where this is going to go. In some way, yes, the court system is rigged. Is he going to appeal it? It could be. Could this go to Supreme Court? Probably. I mean, obviously, people don't like this at all. But hey, look, if you stop construction, this thing never opens up again. And what's going to come out from that? That's the other thing we'll talk about. So now the Kennedy Center will collapse both structurally and financially. Judge Cooper, like numerous other crooked judges on my cases, should be impeached, Trump wrote, referring to the U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper, who made the ruling. The ones who love this country will be there, but please don't watch. We wouldn't want you to be offended. Absolutely. Fantastic. And I got another article I want to cover, but let me just say this real quickly before we get into more of the questions about all this stuff. I mean, and I think this is germane, the Freedom 250 nonprofit organizing group of this. All right. They were in charge of booking and they were in charge of hiring the bands in some way. So what was it that changed this direction? Was this automatically set up to fail in some way, to embarrass President Trump, to embarrass America on this inaugural gala that was going to be done? Yeah, I think so. I think there was something there. Did they have foreknowledge? Was there prior or advanced knowledge that these acts would buckle under undue pressure because they are weak and woke, opportunists and hypocrites? Or was it the nonprofit organization that set this whole thing up? They were framed organizers as nonpartisan public partnership. Was it a setup to collapse and fail to embarrass President Trump and our country? Was it? I mean, this is something we should be seriously looking at. Maybe they should not be involved with this at all. Maybe President Trump should take control of this in some way, and I think that's what he's trying to do. This wasn't about safety concerns. I mean, what is true anymore about that? I mean, they say it involved in something more decisive. These acts did not like this. I think this is payback. onto Trump. And whether it's the record label or this nonprofit group trying to go after President Trump, they're the ones who hired this. They are loathsome scum. They're morally repugnant and repulsive, and their behavior is abhorrent and revolting and anti-American. They are anti-American. They are fascists. They are the communists. They are the traitors of this country. The fact that you pull out here in some way, and only Vanilla Ice had the fortitude, had the courage to say, this is not about politics and stuff. This is about America. And why can't it be that way? Martina McBride, she did a show for George Bush Jr. and Obama, but can't do this, can't do this, can't do that. I mean, the Commodores, really? Bret Michaels? I mean, how outdated can you be in some way? But this is all going to blow back on all these different people. Because a lot of people, if you're MAGA, you're Trump, or anything in some way, or just pro-American, you're going to look at these people like, yeah, I'm not going to any of their stuff. And that's what's going to hurt their bottom dollar. That's what's going to hurt them in the end. Yeah, Libtard's 250 celebration. That's funny there, Senor Polo. It's, bust the move. Oh, Young MC, I got you. Is that? I don't know. Whatever, man. I don't really care. I don't care about these acts, these artists in some way. I mean, I got to give it to Vanilla Ice, though, for manning up. He didn't make this about politics. He made this about celebrating America and saying, look, whatever aside of this, you should just do it. You're asked to do it. You're being on here. You should want to support this first. Yeah, America first. I mean, obviously these people, it's America last. They care more about their political nature and their follies of the political animal that they are to basically embarrass Trump, to undercut him, and to make this into a desperate act. But this has failed. This has failed mightily, and I'm going to show you. Deadline puts this out, and this is a good one. President Trump calls for Freedom 250 concert to be canceled and replaced by MAGA rally following the exodus of scheduled performers. That's great. Get rid of this nonprofit organizing the Great American State Fair, because this thing is wholly captured and corrupted, and it's polluting the national politics and not celebrating something that's supposed to be beneficial for all of us that are Americans that love this country. It's embarrassing. It really does bother me. And I'm glad that President Trump, without him, we just wouldn't have a leader. And we are rudderless in a lot of different places. And everybody that's bitching and moaning on X about the gas prices and the food and stuff, shut the fuck up. Seriously, just kill yourself. Go to Canada and euthanize yourself, because I'm sick and tired of hearing you bitch and moan. All right? This guy's trying to put something on. He can't even fix up the Kennedy Center because they don't want his name there. And so they're screwed. The Kennedy Center is never going to open up. It's under construction forever now. But I think it's going to change. Anyway, things are going to move in the favor we think they are. But after most of this Freedom 250 lineup has dropped out of the upcoming White House celebration, Donald Trump has responded on Saturday night twice. He was out there. I mean, he was just basically bellowing at he was going after these people. POTUS threatened to give a major speech during an America is Rally back after artists like Martina McBride, Bret Michaels, Morris Day, Young MC, the Commoners dropped out, performing the Great American State Fair, a 16-day event taking place on the National Mall on June 25th to July 10th in celebration of our country's quincentennial. I understand the artists are getting the yips, having to do with having to do with their performance on Wednesday, he wrote on Truth Social. So I'm thinking about bringing back the number one attraction anywhere in the world, me, the man who gets much larger audiences than Elvis, in his prime, and does it without a guitar. The man who loves our country more than anyone else, and the man who some say is the greatest president in history, the GOAT. I love it. Donald J. Trump to take the place of these highly paid third-rate artists and give a major speech rallying the country forward like I've done since being president. Trump continued. 2 years ago, the United States was dead, and now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I don't want so-called artists that get paid too much money, who aren't happy. I only want to be surrounded by happy people, smart people, successful people, and people that know how to win. That's a great statement. So by copy of this truth, excuse me, I'm ordering my representatives to look at the feasibility of doing America's Back rally on Wednesday. Excuse me. I think this is great at Washington. So he's basically canceling his whole nonprofit group. Get rid of them because they're all garbage. They all been tainted. They're all corrupt. And this thing was a setup on purpose. They wanted to make sure they rode this out. Yes, they wanted to make sure they rode this out in such a way. Let me tell you something right now. To embarrass President Trump, to not show up to these events, and then they're left holding their dicks in their hands. Yeah, That's what it was. And now they got wind of it and they shut it down. Only great patriots invited. It will be a wild and beautiful celebration of America. President Donald J. Trump. Later on, Trump took to True Social again, pitching an idea for a MAGA rally instead of overpriced singers who nobody wants, whose music is boring and yet has nothing to do but complain. What is their music anyway? Does anybody even know? Does the younger generation know half that music? I mean, honestly, it's embarrassing. He advocated to cancel the event just like I canceled my involvement with the failing and unsafe to be in Kennedy Center because a highly conflicted, crooked judge that said I should not be allowed to spend my time and my money, there you go, in order to make the center great again, actually far greater than it was ever before. This is in reference to yesterday's ruling by a federal judge who blocked Trump's name for appearing in the National Center. He's got 2 weeks to take this down, and I think a move Trump has already blasted. POTUS continue new posts, so now the Kennedy Center will collapse both structurally and financially. So that means if this is going to continue through and there's not going to be any appeals and we're not going to process it, then that means the Kennedy Center will be shut down and Congress will have to act. They'll have to appropriate funds because only they can do that to make sure this money is going to go in to move this forward. And how is that going to look? How is that going to look? Is that going to be in the new reconciliation bills? Is that going to be in the new bills that are coming up to fund the government? Probably, most likely. So maybe President Trump doesn't have to take all these charity and donations from other people that want to help support and make our country beautiful again, or make DC beautiful again in a lot of ways, which he's doing out of his own pocket. Like numerous other crooked judges on my cases, he should be impeached despite multiple cancellations since the item announced. Vanilla Ice and Milli Vanilli, Fab Moran has defended their decisions to perform. And good for them. Good for them. You know what? I don't care. I don't care if you like them, you hate them. At least they had the fortitude. They had the bravery. They had the solitude. They had the forward. They had the ability to say, hey, look, I'm an American first, or I want to support this. I want to defend this. You know what? Good for them. And whatever's going to come out of this. Freedom 250 is the public-private group formed by the Trump administration to celebrate the 250th anniversary. Spokesman for Freedom 250 that immediately returned request for comment. Well, you know what? There should be no comments anymore. It's over. It's done. He's pulled the plug on him. And you know what? As he rightfully done. I mean, I think this nonprofit group, this organizing group, whether they were setting this up as a fail, as a big dirt slop failure, purposely to embarrass the United States, to embarrass President Trump, to embarrass the administration, whatever you want to think about this, whatever you want to understand, whatever you want to take away from it, that's what it looked like. And in some way that all these people complaining that it was safety concerns, that it was this, that it was that. No, this was highly political. All right. In a lot of ways, these were people who are hypocrites and opportunists that were trying to what? Gouge President Trump, or, where they were going to get paid from. And none of these performers wanted to do it. Now, whether there's concerns about their record labels or anybody that were tethering them and saying, hey, look, you can't do this. It's going to hurt your career and stuff like that. They are now inconsequential and irrelevant. As of today and going forward, they will be inconsequential and irrelevant. All right? Because if you're Brett Michaels and you want to perform with Poison or not, or maybe do other things, your time is up now. You're done. You're finished. You're dead. You're dead in a lot of people's eyes. And nobody should be going to these things. That's why I don't go to concerts. That's why I don't go to a lot of these things. Because it's all politically charged. Go to sports events anymore. All right? Why don't I go to paid sports events? All right? When the majority of the people are black and they fucking hate white people. They don't mind taking their money. Or they're just liberal and they're idiots. And they don't like Republicans. They don't like President Trump and not. Which I don't believe. I don't believe that by any chance. I believe a good swath, people behind the scenes in the sports community, in the sports enterprise, they love President Trump. But I don't waste my time. I don't want to spend my money on a culture that wastes my energy, okay? I'd rather be a part of something great, especially what President Trump's talking about. I think it's brilliant stratagem to move this forward in a very complete, comprehensive way and to make this about America. All right. And what better way to do it than a Trump rally where he attracts at the largest rally? What was it in New Jersey on the seaside? He had close to 100,000 people. I mean, if Trump's going to do a rally and he's going to have a bunch of people there and maybe some artists, as Trusty Turnip is saying, and you were saying, Trusty Turnip, that some of these people are going to go forward. Let's cover this right now because I I just want to say this right now. And I think it is. I think President Trump pushing the idea about, look, we're going to do things differently. We're not going to be held liable, or the nonprofit organizing groups are going to be in control of this in some way. I want to have control. It's the only way to take charge. You have to take the reins of this and stuff. You want to make sure you have the right people there promoting the right message, celebrating for the right reason at the right time. You don't want a bunch of has-beens, never been, and what matters that they basically, under their breath, are like Hail Hydra. They hate America. Well, fuck them. You should be like that too, because I don't care about these people, and I'm glad. The Commodores, really? Who listens to the Commodores? Come on. I guarantee you right now, that label and all of them, their record, their let's just say their brand, that's gone. That's over. That's over. Over. I don't care. Whatever you think, that's over for them. President Trump puts this out. He's had a lot of great stuff dropping on X and on Truth and on TikTok, if you'd seen it. I mean, President Trump, this comes from Eagleman. He goes, President Trump dropped this gem. Boom, America's back. Let's go.
Whee! America is back! Yay, let's go! This is the best!
Notice anything there?
America is back!
I hope you noticed the same thing I did. Kid Rock, you know he's going to be there. Yeah, of course Kid Rock is going to be there. Why wouldn't he not be there? I mean, Tim Pritchett puts this out. Let me show you this. Trump one. How you doing? Good evening. Happy Sunday. Oh, let me see. Let me get back to this. Oh, I must have not had it. Okay, here. Let me put this up. Yeah, Tim Pritchett. I'll continue on this because tonight's show, I didn't get into the title. Tonight's show on the sound bites is Digital Heretics, the War on Tech Skeptics, which we're going to get to later. Warning labels, we're going to get to later. But I want to focus on MAGA 250 and the political machine of everything that's going on, because I'm just driven to discuss this tonight because I'm so angry. I'm just so angry. I mean, how are we ever going to, in some way, be a country when, let's just say, look, I already say 20% people are gone. They're lost. They dipped out. They're done or finished. How much of that 20% hate America? I mean, think about it. I mean, are we in an 80-20 scenario? I think so. I think that there is a 20% that's either lost, completely just untethered. They're just, they're locked up with TDS. They can't handle life. They just hate this country. They're not getting their way. They just can't handle anything. And what does it matter? It doesn't matter. But we are in an 80-20 scenario. Keep that in mind. So Eric Doherty puts this out. Tim Pritchett asked President Trump to bring Kid Rock, John Rich, Lee Greenwood. Why wouldn't Lee Greenwood be singing there at all? Honestly, to perform and host America's 250 concert in D.C. after artists bailed on it. Get your friend and my friend John Rich, a great musician. Then Kid Rock would be the finale. Would be cool to have Lee Greenwood come in and sing. There are plenty of other acts in Nashville, people that are trying to get on a big stage like this. This would be a big stage. And I think Tim Pritchett is making a really good, cogent point here. The cogent point is simply is that there are people that love this country, that love to be on a stage, that have great musical talent, but yet because of their politics, because because they're a Republican or a Trump supporter in some way, they're not going to get the big music deals. They're not going to ride that out. And I think what Pritchett is saying, let's unroll out your coattails and let these people toggle with them, all right, and platform them and make them bigger, because there's an audience out there. There's a thirst, there's a quench out there that we haven't heard of good music that really loves this country. And it's embarrassing that we're stuck with Young MC, Bret Michaels, the Commodores, Morris Day and the Time. What the hell did Morris Day and the Time sing? He was a one-hit wonder. Have all these great stars up on stage. Anyway, if you got any ideas, some groups are out there. I'm sure there are. You know what? Aaron Lewis. I'm a big Aaron Lewis fan. Stain. I used to love Stain. And then when he left and he went on his own. Have you ever seen Aaron Lewis live? The guy can sing anything. Fucking put him on stage. Aaron Lewis, have you heard any of his music lately? His last 2 albums were great. I know he's gone country. He's moved off the hard rock and stuff. But his stuff is completely different. He's definitely had a change around. Why not Aaron Lewis? He'd do it for free. Yep. Here we go.
Mr. President, Tim Burchett, I, like you, am a little ticked off and disappointed that some of these I guess, so-called musicians have decided that they have some problem with celebrating our 250th anniversary of the founding of this great country. To think that patriotism is going to offend somebody. And we all know that these New York or Los Angeles or Hollywood PR firms wrote these statements.
Yep.
It's pathetic. Anyway, what we ought to do is, my suggestion would be, get your friend and my friend John Rich, great musician, to lead it off. He's got some great patriotic tunes he's written and he sings, and I mean, it's just awesome. And let him MC the dadgum thing and have all these folks come in. There's plenty of acts in Nashville, people that are trying to get on a big stage like this. This is the world stage, be the largest stage in the world. Everybody in the country will be watching this dadgum thing. And let some of those musicians get out and sing a few songs. All we'd have to do is pay for their dadgum airfare, most of them, just to get them up there, and they'd love it. And
that's all you have to do.
Of course, have Kid Rock.
The travel, the lodging. You don't have to pay them. You don't have to pay them. A lot of them would love to do it. It would be a look. You go on that stage, and you're like, you went from like here to there, and you blast off. There are, like what Tim Burchett is saying, there are many people that have not even hit the stratosphere in this industry that are just somehow kept here because of their politics and their support of President Trump, the administration, or MAGA in general. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing in some way that when I look at all this and I see all this, and what bothers me and hurts me is that I know that there's 20-25% of their country is just completely lost. It's never coming back. But, it doesn't matter anymore. They'll die off in some way. They'll either injure themselves, injure their family. They'll do what they got to do. And somehow, as the years go on and time progresses, there will be fewer and far away from the nonsense and the noise that we have to deal with going forward. But I think what Burchett is saying is that, look, there are many people out there that have an impact that could be part of this and should be celebrating this in some ways, that we should give them an opportunity to do this. And I think it's very important that we do that.
Nobody's more patriotic in the rock and roll world than he is, and he's awesome. And then I know you got his number. Heck, I've been with him when he's called you. And then the finale would be cool to have Lee Greenwood come out and sing. He's got a bunch of great songs, but of course, the ending would be God Bless the USA, and have all the other acts come out and sing along with him. And maybe they could do a single verse, Kid Rock or John Rich or something could do one of the verses. And I think that would be awesome. Have all those great stars up on stage. And anyway, if y'all got any ideas of some groups that would, from your area, that would be willing to play, how about tagging them in this story, and let's see if we can make this thing happen.
Yeah. So if you want to hit up Tim Burchett, go to Tim Burchett. You know how to do it. And just put in what your artists are. You can find them on X and just hit them up and just say, hey, look, how about Aaron Lewis? How about this? How about that? And let him know. And he'll pass that forward to the president. And I think it's important. I think that's really good. That guy is fantastic. Tennessee, as a congressman, his district, they're very lucky to have him. Yeah, I'm the Only One is a great song. I mean, a lot of Aaron Lewis's music is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Aaron Lewis. I've seen him twice in concert. When he played at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, I have to tell you right now, the guy's amazing because he could sing. You call out songs, he sings them. And I think he would be, a very big act to have. And I think, when he was having a concert, he did a whole concert celebrating and in remembrance of Charlie Kirk. And so he fit some of the music of Charlie Kirk in there as a dedication. So the guy's a patriot. Give him a shot. Put him in there. I think he would be very good at this point. Yeah, he's a badass patriot. Okay, so we're going to move on. I got to move on because I got more stuff getting into. So President Trump today with his daughter-in-law speaking about making America beautiful again, and what President Trump is doing in general. In a lot of ways, I have to tell you, it's fantastic in a lot of ways. Because look, he's not going to get the love and respect that he so deserves until the time is up when his time of presidency is over. But I will say this, though. It's remarkable about the commentary that I see on X and many other people that see what he's doing in D.C. with all the fountains and everything that's going on and what he's done at the mall and stuff. It's just fantastic. And you know what? If you just want to throw an injunction at President Trump to stop him doing this and doing that in some way, all you're doing is showcasing that you hate America, and President Trump is cleaning up the filth and the rot, which you so enjoy. A lot of these judges are okay. This whole thing with the Kennedy Center is going to blow the fuck up. I'm going to tell you, it's going to get massive. It's going to get big. It's going to explode. I don't know if they're going to appeal this, but you have no idea the firestorm that's coming from this. If Trump says, yeah, no problem, well, you know what? We're done funding it. Construction stops. You're done. You're finished. And you know what? Why don't we show you what was being done there? I think there's something there to this, and I think the idea that the construction has been halted, or it will be halted, and other things might come out because of this, because President Trump will show, hey, look, this is what you stopped. Oh, it's not going to end well for them. It's not.
Washington, D.C. You have the Triumphal Arch. Tell me about the design of that, because I know you showed me a couple versions.
It's going to be very much like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, except a larger version, more beautiful even, but that's my favorite one, but more beautiful. To be built right by the Arlington Bridge, the Arlington Memorial Bridge, which is beautiful. It was planned for 200 years already and never got built. They actually started it, and it stopped during the Civil War. They had the Civil War. That was a good reason. They started it. They actually built some cornices and things, but it's going to be fantastic. It was meant for it. It was meant for it. The circle's been there for almost 200 years, and they never got it built, and we're going to get that built. We're doing one that's really interesting, the reflecting pond. It was a disaster, built in 1922. President Obama spent $100 million and destroyed it further, and then Biden got involved and spent a lot of money and destroyed it. And I'm going to spend a tiny fraction of that money, and it should open in about a week. It was going to take them 4 years to get it built.
Crazy.
And it's going to take me about 4 weeks.
Well, I think you talk to people who live in D.C. and they will say that it was just overrun with algae and it was green and murky.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And if you lay it on its side, it's taller than any building in the world. It's over 2,000, almost 2,500 feet long. And it leaked. It had stone. They had a process. It was going to cost $400 million. It was going to take 4 years to build. I'm doing it for probably $15 million. I'm doing the super job, and it's going to take me a few weeks. Think of that. And it's going to be much better. I'm using swimming pool material. It's going to be blue, beautiful blue, which is what they always wanted. So we've been working on it for the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and it's going to be incredible. And it's going to open in another week or so. I want to open before July 4th.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic that what he's doing. I mean, honestly, what president gave a fuck about any of the beautification, edification, all the natural beauties and the wonders about D.C.? Who had the money and opportunity to do it? They didn't. They didn't. Congress, if they had something done, they impanel to get done. It never gets done. The money gets wasted. It's just a waste of time. And it's sad in a lot of ways, and it's embarrassing. But I think what we're seeing here, what President Trump is doing, it just gives me more, let's just say, course of, comfort that the fact is that he's still there, that he's here now, and we should enjoy every moment, every time with him, because it's embarrassing that you see how many people, these lunatics, are losing their mind. They can't just get ahead of themselves. They can't stop being who they are because they're paid to do this, or they're just actually batshit crazy and they've lost their minds. And you know what? This is about America and the 250. Now you don't want to be a part of it. Well, President Trump's like, yeah, let's make it MAGA 250. Brilliant. Smart. Well, you know what? You're going to lose because you're going to see a whole host of artists and people you don't even know that are going to go on stage, and the people that dropped out, okay, who are nobodies, okay? They're has-beens. They were never was-beens. They're what? They're done. They're finished. They're going to be kicking themselves saying, what the fuck did I do? What did I do? Yeah, because you let your politics, your ego, convince you that doing this was a mistake. Or in some way, you were forced or maybe paid or blackmailed out of this. Either way, no one really gives a fuck. I don't really care. As we move on here, let me say hello to a couple of people Yeah, what trolls? There, I guess people are coming in here left and right. Thank you, Wood USA, for the 217 gold pills in your polo gift of the shades. Thanks for the Sunday show, Thea, dropping 600 gold pills. Happy Sunday, Thea. Hi, everyone. Curious Cat, thank you for the cookie. Good to see everybody out there. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Comments, questions, concerns. You can help us out on Rumble as well. Let's continue on. I got so much more to go. All right, so let's start off with the political politicization of everything that's happening. And let's see the Secretary Interior discuss what's happening right now with the Kennedy Center and what's taking place. We'll get into all the other stuff that I want to talk about. But right now, I want to move forward with this in this way, and then we'll dive deep into what I want to talk about today, about the digital heretics. I might be one of them. You might consider me someone who is as a Luddite, or a neo-Luddite. I don't know. I'm not against technology. I'm not against any of that stuff. You know, advancement is good. I mean, acceleration, I don't know how good that is, depending on where we're going and what's being accelerated. There's a lot of different discussions that we're going to dive into. But here comes from Eric Doherty. Secretary Doug Burgum nails it after artists bail on performing America 250. Some musicians want to play music for everybody. Some musicians see to have segmented their audiences the same way politicians have. Now, we've seen that the left is going to put on an anti-MAGA 250 or some anti-American rally with a bunch of artists that are lefties that hate this country, that are communist, fascist, socialists, but they have no problem charging you $400, $500, $1,000 ticket prices to come and see them in some way. So I think the what's insane about all this stuff is that how he breaks this down and what is going to be showcased when he's saying that a lot of this stuff is going to be free. Celebration of 250 is a nonpartisan event, and I'm going to encourage every American to get out there celebrating their own way, celebrating their own community. I agree with that, and I think everybody will start to see that and do that as well.
Of course, is celebrating our 250th anniversary as a country. I mean, what a miracle. Everybody in the country ought to stand back and say, wow, how incredible is it? You think about the revolutionaries that fought Great Britain, won independence. You think about the battles that we went through the Civil War to hold the Union together. And then here we are across the nation, not just in D.C., holding events to celebrate this.
And also consider what we could have lost without President Trump. You know, if Hillary Clinton was elected president, it's over. You know that, right? If President Trump wasn't reelected as president, it would be over. It would be over. It would have been over a long time ago. We were on our way. There's no doubt about it. You know it and I know it. There would have been an insurrection. There would have been a civil war. Something had changed. President Trump, he changed it all. In a moment's notice, he changed it all. From 16 to 17, everything has changed. However, you looked at the first administration or not, which was really good to get things into the way. However, you looked about all the actors that were filling the roles and, you know, that were yipping out and doing things they shouldn't be doing, about everything in general, about the 2020 stolen election that you're seeing. Everything is because of what you're seeing because of President Trump. And without him, you wouldn't have this. You wouldn't get to enjoy and celebrate this. Things wouldn't taste as better. They wouldn't smell as better. Life, regardless of whatever you think at this moment about what you're experiencing that we're all going through, whether it's gas prices or food distribution prices or all these other things that we're resetting. We're restacking the deck. You have to consider that in some way. As he basically prevented us going into a World War III or some type of real war that could have really, we don't know how bad the situation in Iran was or is or not. And we know that it's much more than Iran per se. All right. It's about the Federal Reserve. It's about what the Bank of London. It's about all these different infrastructures that have been in place since 1917, longer, that been around, that is controlling us, that is holding us back. You have to consider there's more on the table at this moment. So it's not about me. All right. I mean, President Trump is not here in some way to personally make your life better. He's here to do that for all of us in some way. I mean, you got to, you can't blame him for every little fucking thing. You can't. And I'm sick and tired of people doing that because they're so self-absorbed. They just can't get past themselves. They keep tripping over their own dicks or whatever. And all these people like crying about every little thing. Every little thing. All they do is think about the same thing over and over again, repeat, regurgitate, rinse and repeat. And it's like, it's never ending. Listen to what the Secretary of Interior is saying.
It's an incredible thing, the abundance that we have, the freedoms we have, the freedom of speech we have. And the Great American State Fair running 15 days here on the Mall, starting in late June and going through July 10th, is a celebration of all 50 states and all territories. There is a planned event for the opening of that. And of course, I with a smile on my face, I can't wade into the politics of musicians because some musicians want to play music for everybody, and some musicians seem to have segmented their audiences the same way politicians have. But this is Freedom 250, and the celebration of the 250 is a nonpartisan event. And I would encourage everybody in America to get out, celebrate in your own way, celebrate in your own community. And if you're here, over those 15 days, you get a chance to see the amazing things going on across all of our 50 states.
The argument.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't like that statement. Freedom isn't free. I mean, there's sacrifice, there's blood and treasure. There are American lives that are paid for this freedom. That's why we have Memorial Day. That's why we have Veterans Day. We should make June a Veterans Month in so many ways. We should be expanding VJ Day. We should make June, instead of this fucking pride faggot gay shit, move that out the door, which we are, because a lot of cities and states are doing. It's only going to be in the controlled areas of the sanctuary cities, and no one gives a shit about that stuff. But we should really make it and push that for Veterans Month in some way. Celebrate all the great veterans, past, present, future, all right, that have committed to what? Sacrificing themselves to keep this country going. Plain and simple. That's it. That's all I want. I don't want it any more hokey. I don't want any more, bougie. Just keep it as simple as that in remembrance of what was given, what blood and treasure was spilled in order to get us to this point. I mean, the idea that people are bitching and moaning all over the place about President Trump and this and that and stuff, they don't recognize in the last 10 years what had happened. They don't recognize what happened in the last 15 years. They only want to see now. Feed me, feed me, feed me. They don't understand what he has changed, what he has done. And the idea that D.C. is a safe city, it's clean, it smells good, people can walk to work, it's amazing. And people are commenting on it on X left and right, and I see a bunch of it, and it's fantastic. I love it. I mean, I just only wish that we can get that to other city-state fiefdoms and make sure we come down on the sanctuary. When are we going to break the sanctuary hold? That's one of the things I want to see. That's one of the things I want to get to. All right, moving on. All right, let's continue on with some of our discussions today. Here's President Trump. This is something right now where people are bitching and moaning about. It's not just about the Kennedy Center. It's not about hating America, which they do. It's not about all this other stuff. Now, President Trump, we know that he's turning the ballroom, which is not really a ballroom. It's going into an iron dome, a drone dome in some way. So Trump posts an AI image of the White House ballroom detail, and people are concerned. Okay, what people are concerned? That's what I want to know. Whose people are concerned? Are you concerned? I'm not concerned. I think I love the idea. Who should be concerned about this? A drone dome has shared an AI-generated image showing one of the details of his White House renovation plans that for many had previously slipped under the radar, a drone port. What's wrong with that? The image shows troops standing on the roof of the proposed White House ballroom surrounded by stationary drones. Posting on Truth Social, Trump wrote, the drone port on the roof on the White House. I don't think it's going to show it here and stuff. Maybe I'll have to do it in this. Yeah, I think they cropped it, but I'll get back to it. Of course, Trump can't stop talking about the plans for the construction of the controversial White House ballroom at the moment. Recently, Trump spoke to reporters and said the ballroom is set to be drone-proof with a military-style complex within the building. It's amazing. I think we're ending the Pentagon. As Marshall and I discussed last week, I think the Pentagon is going to become a museum. That's just my point. That's my illustration. I don't think anybody's talking about that. We had mentioned that last week or this previous week, and I do believe that the Pentagon is going to be some type of museum or something else. And it's not going to be fully dressed up with the same scenario as this. As we're moving away from the Pentagon and what it provides, something else is going to replace it, and this might be it. Speaking last week, Trump spoke about the plans of the ballroom, saying, on top of the roof, we're going to have the greatest drone empire you've ever seen. The entire roof is developed for military edit, not only for its drone proof. If a drone hits it, it bounces off and it won't have any impact. but it's also meant as a drone port, so it protects all of Washington. Interesting. The ballroom is really a shield protecting all things that are built here. Trump also said the AI image of the drone shared by Trump sparked a reaction on social media. I don't think it's going to give me the picture. I guess it cropped out. It's unfortunate because they had some good stuff. I didn't want to share it any further and stuff. I think you've seen it, but he put it on True Social. It's on X in a lot of ways. You know what's interesting is that someone had mentioned to me and stuff. It reminds me of that movie, that Marvel movie, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, when they had those 3 carriers that go up and that were going to eventually kill 20 million Americans, kill them off. So Hydra can take over and control and move forward with their agenda in some way. And some people are trying to equivocate that in some way. Well, if you flip it in the inverse in some way, maybe that will be true. I mean, what he's saying that behind the scenes, Trump is creating this thing to lock down DC in some way, or is he doing it to protect it because he knows that there's something that's going to happen very soon? I mean, all these things can be considered. You should take them all with a grain of salt and not utilize certain contrast comparisons that you can take out from a sci-fi movie. I mean, let's be clear. There are things that you can make comparisons with and things you don't. You know, I mean, look, we funded Israel with their Iron Dome and their missile defense system and so on. This is going to be totally different. And why shouldn't we have something as a defense mechanism to protect D.C.? Why is it such a problem? Why do people have such a lapse in judgment of understanding? Why is that? Why is it the idea that the continuity of government is not what we think it is? The continuity of government is going to be what? The shield, the drone shield itself. What falls underneath the government, underneath in bunkers or not bunkers, but layers and layers underneath the White House. It's going to be something completely different and modern. And I think it's awesome. And I don't know why anybody would be bitching and moaning when a lot of this stuff is self-funded. I mean, I don't know why Congress, they just want to know the blueprints and plans. Why do so many people want to know what's going on and it's classified? Because they want to leak this stuff because they hate this country. That's the bottom line. They hate this country. All right, moving on. I saw this. I want to put this out there. Here we go. So Hillary Clinton had to get involved with the whole thing about what's going on the White House lawn and everything that they're shilling and pushing it out. And I don't even know if she even controls her Twitter handle. But this was funny. Hillary Clinton just got destroyed. While she cries that Trump left a third of the White House in rubble, Carl Higbee drops the hammer. Sit this one out, Hillary. Your husband turned the Oval Office into a personal playground with Monica Lewinsky, the same woman who stayed with Slick Willie through the cigars and the blue dress, had the audacity to lecture anyone about the White House hypocrisy level expert. America's watching this clown show. Who else is tired of these wash-up elites? If you're done with the Clintons. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's embarrassing in some way. Is she even writing this? I mean, honestly, is this hag really on X in some way? I mean, it's embarrassing in some way that you see these people. Are they being forced out there? Is their Twitter handle being controlled, their X handle being controlled in some way to put these things out so you can see how irrelevant they are? Yes, they're irrelevant. They're meaningless. You're just showing you that the old guard is coming down. It's being removed. It's being separated. It's being bifurcated. No one cares anymore. All right. The new regime that's in place right now that has taken over, that is moving this country forward in so many different ways. It really bothers me so much of how many people that come out to be, and after watching what's going on in Delaney Park in New Jersey with ICE and the governor saying that we arrested 7 or the 8 people out there, they come from out of town. We know that these people come out from out of town. Antifa and many other funded groups will cover it later on and stuff, but it's just disgusting and disgraceful. When are we going to cut those funds off? When are we going to stop this? Why can't the National Guard be called in to protect that facility and round up all these people and find out where they're coming from? Yeah, it's a circle of death, alphabet, omega pill. All right, so this is part of my discussion that I had. Okay, this is part of my discussion. I said that we're starting to see that NATO is being deconstructed. Now, this is part of the Five Eyes. And the Five Eyes, we're part of this intelligence apparatus. We defend New Zealand. We help defend Australia in a lot of ways. And I think this is where Pete Hegseth comes into play. He's at the Shangri-La meeting in South Asia talking about this, and he went on a tear about countries that don't do enough to be a part of NATO, don't do enough to defend themselves, and we're stuck picking up the tab all the time. I think this was brilliant.
The era of the United States subsidizing the defense of wealthy nations is over. We need partners, not protectorates. We seek alliances built on shared responsibility, not dependency. This is the maturation of our alliances in a new era. Alliances only work when they are true partnerships. It is a two-way street. You don't have a strong alliance unless everyone has skin in the game. No freeloading. History is not over. Australia is stepping up. Together, we are expanding the rotational presence of U.S. forces and collaborating to ensure our defense industrial base build and sustain weapons required for a high-end fight. We appreciate Australia's investment in real combat power and the commitment to integrate more deeply with the U.S. Joint Force.
I couldn't help but notice that New Zealand was missing from your list of countries there. They have recently outlined a plan to get from 1% to 2% of GDP, a long way from 3.5. Would you consider New Zealand to be a free rider? Thank you.
Certainly sharp and clear question.
New Zealand, I appreciate the question. Listen, I mean, if I'm being honest, 2% is not enough, and so 2% is freeloading. But I don't have anything against New Zealand. I want partners to step up. I didn't intentionally leave it off my list. I look forward to working with the new defense minister there and enhancing those capabilities. I think that relationship has been a very fruitful one for a very long time. But I think, as my friends Richard Morals and John Healy know, I'm probably the most blunt with our closest friends about what our capabilities are and where they need to be to ensure that we're locking arms and shields considering the threats of the world. And we can't just say, oh, we've been friends for a long time, so let's work together. We've been friends for a long time, so you better have the same capabilities we do, because if we don't, our alliance is meaningless. And that's the kind of realism President Trump.
You hear that? Our alliances are meaningless if we don't have the same common goals. If we don't share them, then you know what? You're on your own. And that's why we're withdrawing from NATO. We're withdrawing down. We're drawing down troops all over in the Eastern continent, in the European continent, and we have to. We have to. It's become fruitless. It's financially a chasm. It's costing us so much money. It's just a waste of our time. You know what? Let them deal with it. I do believe Europe right now is going to experience some pain and suffering. And I think slowly, as we remove ourselves, they're going into a fastidious war in their own countries, and a civil war because of the migration program. And I do believe the UK, France, and even Germany right now are about to have a tipping point about how they're dealing with it. They're going to invite new leadership in that's going to upset the apple cart and going to cause consternation, where they're going to want these remigration out of here. And I think that's it. Germany's basically trying to get rid of Syrians and all these different groups of people out of their country and remove them out. And also simultaneously, they're trying to crack down on social media like X to have appropriated speech. What is appropriated news? All right. Basically news that they qualify as news, not stuff like you and I talk about, or having free speech in general. But I believe they're going through a free speech epidemic. They're also going through, I think, civil war revolutions in some way because of the migration problem with all the Muslims and the Africans and all these other people that have invaded their country that were allowed to come in their country. All right. And they're going to go through this maturation for a period of time. And we're walking away and saying, that's you. We're fixing our problem here. We're fixing our problem here. That's on you. You solve your own problem. And whatever happens, happens. But we're not going to be a part of it. And I think that's part of the reason why we're slowly dipping out. I think people are starting to recognize that those European countries have been what? Not just captured and taken over. Their civilization is no longer possible. It's financially bankrupt. It's morally bankrupt and corrupt. And they know it. They have problems with their own citizens. An overthrow of their government could happen any day now, especially in the UK, especially in France. They have to do something about it. Have you seen the recent pictures in France with what happened with the World Cup over there and the burning everything and stuff? I told you about what's going on with all these little they like to use these teen takeovers as a metaphor to undercut the nomenclature, the syntax of the an evaluation of the discussion of many different cities. They happen here in Tampa, where these black groups of people are being foisted out there to commit vandalism, crime, and it's a stalking horse. It's another summer of love scenario that they're presenting before we get into the elections. I think so, and it's being revealed everywhere. I discussed it. I got a lot of pushback saying that's racist and stuff. I don't fucking care. Do you fucking care? Arrest them. Arrest the parents. Put them in jail. You know what? Let the kids go to fucking juvie. Let the kids go to what? I don't care. Send them to Epstein Island. Do whatever you want to do. But, get them off the street. If you got to lock them up for a long time, locked up with the parents. Then they lose the job. They lose their house and stuff. You know what? Then they don't want the kid. Send the kid into military. Get him in reform school. I don't know what you got to do. But 12-year-olds walking around with guns on these teen takeovers, not a good look. It's bad. It's bad on the sheriffs, bad on the counties, bad on the state. You need to crack down hard. People are not going to take it because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It's going to get ugly. You're going to have shootouts in these streets. And I told you might have a mini civil war with these types of scenarios that are going to percolate if you don't crack down on them now. Okay, let's move on. Let's get into a couple other things. Here's another discussion right now that we haven't talked about. So the Supreme Court allows the Trump administration, and this is what I'm talking about, Pork Chop Billy. Yeah, I absolutely needed the show today. Well, good to see you, and thank you. There we are, Washington, D.C. I'm going to click this up. This just happened the other day, and I don't think anybody's talking about it. Why the U.S. Supreme Court granted the Trump administration's request to stay a district court order in Svetlana Doe versus Nome. That's Kristi Noem, stripping the legal status of an estimated 500,000 people in mass who came to the United States through humanitarian parole processes for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, CHNV. All right, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to take an extraordinary action to block the district court's preliminary injunction, even before the First Circuit heard the case appeal. The news came after the Supreme Court issued a similar order in Nome versus National TPS Alliance, revoking temporary status, protected status, from an estimated 350,000 Venezuelans. Interesting. The Supreme Court has effectively greenlight deportation orders for an estimated 500,000 people, the largest such delegalization in the modern era. Today's decision beats the record they just set 2 weeks ago when they allowed the termination of TPS for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans living in the U.S., said Karen Tulum, the founder and director of the Justice Action Center. I cannot overstate how devastating this is. The Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to unleash widespread chaos, not just for our clients and class members, but for their families, their workplaces, and their communities. You don't need to be here. All right. You came in here illegally. You came in here on false pretenses. You came in here through the back door. You were allowed to come in here for whatever reason, part of the grift and the graft, through NGOs and all these other different groups, to what? Rob and steal us, rape and kill us. It's over. And I think President Trump putting and revoking the temporary protected status to go after the Haitians, the Venezuelans, many different groups of people that are violent, okay, that have ties to gangs and gang members. CHAV, humanitarian parole process. Once again, Trump administration blatantly proves their disregard for their lives of those who truly need protection. You know what? We need protection. Where's our protection here in America? This is why I look back and I harken back of all the people, all the past people that have lost their lives, these women, these children, murdered and raped by the monsters that roam our countryside. And this is an example of President Trump pushing back and getting rid of the rot, the filth, the scum that have just basically loitered around our country doing what, God knows what, and allowed to do this because they have protected status, but no longer. 500,000. Good rant. I mean, I wish it was 5 million. That would be fantastic. Wouldn't that be better? I'd take 1 million at this point. But overall, I think where we're going right now is a good thing. Now, I know Greg Bovina was out there. He was at the airport. He was criticizing the Trump administration and a lot of stuff. I mean, he's saying that we have over 100 million people in this country, and Susie Wallace has some way interjected herself to slow this down. Now, it's plausible to suggest that they have slowed it down in the sense of until after the midterms. But Marco Rubio has come out and said, we have between 20 to 29 states that we're working with deals in some way, deals that we're going to have with the Shield of America. I kind of like that name, Shield of America, that Kristi Noem is now in charge of, and that they are going to be operational to what? Make sure the mass remigration of people are going to go to these 20 to 29 countries. And so they're setting up the actual distribution or redistribution of these people, criminal or not, illegal or not, whatever. You're going home or you're going back to a place where you're going to be resettled and no longer here in the United States. And I believe they'll accelerate that at the after the midterms. And when the midterms are done, you'll see a mass acceleration by the following year. I would say by December, by the following year. It'll pick up based upon what we're seeing with the outcome of that. And I think they're just trying to keep this at bay and not let this override in some way and impact the midterms, because you know how people like to lose their shit over this and they can't handle it. They're like, oh, I got to vote for a Democrat because you're replacing us with them. No, what we're doing is simply is that we're getting rid of these people for murdering you and I, but they don't want to consider that. What they want to do is to say the Trump administration is moving illegals out for his own what? We want to bring white people in and move all the brown and black people out. Well, that's part of it. A lot of these people shouldn't be here to begin with. Yes, he's bringing in, I think what I've read, 17,000, maybe more of South Africans, white African farmers. They're going to get land. They're going to be farmers. I mean, they're going to be under this tutelage in some way that they're going to be here to farm. These are past farmers that had their homes burned, their families murdered and killed, taken over by the South African government. You know what? That's fine. We need more farmers. We need more people with what? Land. The government has to give up land for these people to farm and do things. And you know what? They have a purpose. They have a viability. I'm all for it. Let's move on. Okay. A couple of other things that we'll get to. Here's another thing President Trump put out this weekend, and I think this is good. This is also talking about what we're seeing right now and understanding about this MAGA 20, MAGA, just put it this way, MAGA fair that's out there, the 250 fair that's out there in some way. And he drops this. He says, one of his best posts, this belongs to the Hall of Fame. Families should stay together. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be white. Wow. Billions were spent to convince you this was evil. I don't know how many times I talk about this. I talk, if it ain't white, it ain't right. That's not racist. It's not. It's not. When your president is putting this out there, he's putting this out there. There were people that were brought in this country to replace you, especially the white population. Yes. Well, I'm not walking away from that. It is absolutely true. I mean, you can't defend that in any way. You know it's true. You've seen it. You know what's happening all over the place. All right, let's get to the big stuff tonight that we're going to cover, because I think in some way, a lot of people are wanting to hear what we're going to talk about is the digital heretics that has taken place. Now, this discussion came about a lot of articles I've been reading, and there's a lot of discussion that's happening, especially recently with what taken place with apparently Peter Thiel dipping out and going to Argentina, cozying up to Mali, buying property, him and his, homosexual lover, and their kids are in school and stuff, so they wanted to move out of here. Something is taking place. Something is happening. I got a lot of interesting thoughts about that. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill, comments, questions, concerns. Thank you, Theo, for the 700 gold pills. I appreciate it. Let's continue on here. I dropped the actual link if you want to call in. I know people like, make me a mod. Do this. You know what? I don't know who you are. And if you want to come on the show, here you go. Show me who you are. I don't make your odd. I Trusty Turnip and Trump One are mods. I mean, basically, in name only. But I mean, I don't have like 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 followers. I don't think I necessarily need a mob. The community's a mob, and I love them for that. So I dropped the StreamYard. So if you're brave enough, you could come on the show and you want to have a conversation. I won't bite your head off, because I know a lot of people were bitching the other day. So this comes from the end of time stuff. Okay, so this is really good to understand. So the tech overlords are planning for a conscious AI to conquer the cosmos. Now, this article came out of The Guardian. Now, the Guardian article, which I'll drop in the chat, was massive. And I'm like, I'm not going to read it for an hour. But it was a good article after I was reading it, so this really condenses it. A powerful cadre of technology billionaires is coalescing around a radical transhuman vision that could redefine humanity's place in the universe, prioritizing the development of conscious artificial intelligence and digital immortality over traditional human concerns. Wow. Leaders at the forefront of AI and the tech innovation are actively preparing for a post-human era where biological limits given way to silicon-based or hybrid forms capable of interstellar expansion. Here's a question for you. Is the AI transhumanism coming out summarily with the UFO disclosure? And is that on purpose? Or is there something, is there signal with the noise? Is there a causal connection there? Just think about that and understand, which do you think is the greatest distraction at this point or the greatest intention? Keep that in mind. So the belief system blending science fiction with ambitious technological goals frames a current humanity as a transitional phase. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, outlined the stakes years ago. If two different species both want the same thing and only one can have it, in this case, to be the dominant species on the planet and beyond, they're going to have a conflict. Interesting. He warned in a blog post discussing potential merge between humans and AI. How about humans and aliens, if that's real in some way? Or are they one and the same? Elon Musk, whose influence spans multiple frontier technologies, echoed similar themes. He described humanity's role as a biological bootloader for digital superintelligence, suggesting people serve primarily as a launching pad for more advanced intelligent systems. Wow. The vision extends beyond Earth. Proponents discuss uploading consciousness to non-biological substrates, such as silicon chips, electromagnetic waves, enabling transhumans to spread across the galaxy. Figures like Larry Page, Peter Thiel have expressed varying degrees of support for abandoning or enhancing the flesh in favor for more durable, efficient forms of cosmic exploration. Critics within the article highlight the risks, noting that the vast resources are being redirected towards these long-term speculative goals rather than immediate human needs. The movement draws from an effective altruism, long-termism, and accelerationist philosophies. Yes, these are philosophies that are real, all right, and that they're pushing forth and driving forth a narrative that will move us into a futuristic digital civilization over present-day priorities. Yes, so everything aside that is happening, they're moving us into a very hyper, fast-speed pace into another world that I don't know if we're ready for. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. Supposedly, there is something new, by far better than AI. Yeah, I understand, Lita. I when you understand this, you guys are going to have a lot of comments about where we're going to go with this. And I have to tell you right now, the subject's going to bother a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Because if you think that the UFO thing really bothers people, it doesn't bother me. I think it's more of a distraction. It's less about the aliens, and it's more about the actual products that are traversing our skies, the propulsion systems, the energy source. To me, that's the greater captivity of the discussion than anything else. I mean, that's where I go with that. Everything else is meaningless to me. Let's continue on. All right, where are we here? Okay, so I'll re-invite you to the story that we covered just a couple of days ago, maybe this past week. And I think in some way, maybe on Monday we covered it. But this is a big thing. So Slay News put this out yesterday. Billionaire Peter Thiel flees America for Argentina, warns of AI catastrophe, nuclear war, and economic collapse. So this expansive argument really breaks down that Peter Thiel is suggesting, and he's part of this in some way. Listen to this article. It's a little fascinating that what I was covering before. And so the information is coming out. Now, whether or not you believe this or not, and understand, why did he move his family out of the United States into Argentina as fears grow over America's long-term political trajectory, soaring taxes, global instability, and the possibility of civilization-ending disasters? Let me just say this. The old world is collapsing. The paradigm, the dynamic of what that is, the bank, London, the Federal Reserve, everything is collapsing in some way. President Trump posting all over X about, we need to what? Go to Fort Knox. It's time to go to Fort Knox and audit the gold. Yeah, let's do it. What are we waiting for? Did we forget about that? No. So there's a discussion about Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin overvalued? Is there things about Bitcoin that we're not seeing? Or is there all these other things that are being, let's just say, pushed out there in some way that his company, Palantir, did? Well, the The PayPal co-founder and influential Silicon Valley power broker has quietly established a new base in Buenos Aires, purchasing a mansion in one of Argentina's capital, most exclusive neighborhoods. According to reports, the move in part of a broader effort by Thiel to establish a plan B as concerns mount over everything from a nuclear conflict and artificial intelligence to government overreach and economic decline. Wow, that's interesting. Thiel's relocation comes as California pushes policies, as many critics warn, are driving entrepreneurs, investors, and businesses out of the state. So the measure could have saddled Thiel with a staggering 10-figure tax. So keep that in mind. Is this more business related? Is this more about that than what was happening? As California voters debated the proposal, Thiel Capital quietly expanded operations outside the state. So I would consider, and they're moving an office in Miami. I think something's being set up in Tampa here, but taxes are only part of the equation. Reports indicate Thiel has become increasingly concerned about geopolitical instability and the growing risk of major conflict between global powers. Okay. Among his reported fears, a possibility of war between the United States, China, escalating tensions in Russia. Now, if anybody is looking at this as NPC or Norby, we all know that not to be true. Okay. I mean, there's not one discussion we don't have that many posts or many articles on X and many different deliberations claim that the United States, China, and Russia are secretly working together, even with India, to take down the old guard, the New World Order, and replace it with something better and broken. That's not broken. Argentina emerging as a safe haven. Okay. Sources indicate Thiel had multiple private meetings with Milei as Argentina attempts to transform itself into a symbol of economic dysfunction, into a destination preparing for the worst. This is hardly alone. Thiel is hardly alone. Other wealthy investors and technology entrepreneurs have reportedly begun developing contingency plans. Okay. Plan B for civilization. Thiel himself reportedly purchased land in neighboring Uruguay in addition to establishing roots in Argentina. Warnings about AI and global control. He warned that the fear of existential threats that could be exploited to justify unprecedented levels of government control. Okay. Those themes then remain front and center in private conversations. According to reports, guests attending a recent dinner at Thiel's Buenos Aires mansion found themselves discussing one of the billionaire's favorite subjects, the Antichrist, the potential dangers posed by a centralized global authority. Interesting that is being discussed and brought up. Now, whether or not you believe this or you think this is real or not in some way, you have to consider he's part of the architect that was pushing some of this nonsense. And Elon Musk was, warning us about this, but also simultaneously giving us, the hat tip. Hey, look, something ominous is on the horizon. The question is, has it gotten out of control? And is it necessarily about AI per se, or is it about CERN? I mean, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to drop this in the chat. You can read this yourself. This is the Guardian article. I want you to read this. I think this is a fantastic article. I'm dropping in the chat. So when you have time, you can go back and read this and think, oh, I understand. I'm going to give you let's just put it this way, the less, wordy description. So our over-tech overlords are planning conscious AI to conquer the cosmos. What could go wrong? I'm not going to read this. It's already in the chat. I'm going to show you another article that broke this down a lot more simply. It comes from Technocracy News, which I thought was a really good, let's just say go here. If it's going to play. All right, here it is. This was a great article. This basically gives a summary and overview of, that's not it. Well, they kicked me out. Stop sharing. Let's see. Did they? Let's see if it plays. Okay. Oh, okay. That's fine. All right. They want me to pay, and I'm not paying. Screw you. I'm not paying. Why would I pay? All right, I'm promoting your rag here in some way. It figures feds go after anti-tech extremists as AI halted. Let's just put it this way: as AI hatred grows. Now there is something to this in some way, and I want to break this down real simply because there is a growing push of neo-Luddites that are in some way heretics in some way. So, is there a war that is going to take place on tech skeptics like myself? Many people that are pushing back against the narrative, who don't like what they see, are coming what? They're confused with what's going on. They don't understand it. I'll just read you a little bit, and then we'll break this down a little bit more. Let me blow this up more. Okay. So you can see that. So now there's a stigma associated with AI data center protests. Oh, what happened? Okay. So now there's a stigma with AI data center protests around the country. Go to a city council meeting and sound off because homogenous data centers are invading your space. Carry a sign on the street criticizing data centers, criticize people like Sam Altman or Elon Musk on social media, and you could be tagged a neo-Luddite. And find yourself on a government naughty list, a watch list being surveilled everywhere you show up. This is not speculation, as Wired put this out. Now, I'm just giving you technocracy news really just encapsulates this. And also they're taking this off of The Guardian right now. Another great article. This is not speculation, as Wired reports in California, Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin state and local police have removed or arrested speakers at town halls who criticize data centers. In one case before they're even allowed to speak. Wow. What happened to free speech? Something is up. And when I see a free speech problem that is arisen, the number one thing that I push back is about I have a right to say what I want, and hate speech included. The scale of opposition to AI massive is 70% of Americans oppose local data center construction. Hundreds of groups of active in 42 states, $156 billion in projects face delays were blocked in 2025 alone. Technocrats hate anyone who rains on the parade. Patrick Wood, editor. In the wake of attacks, CEOs, and nationwide protest movement targeting data centers, increasing concerns about AI job replacement, federal intelligence agencies, and domestic law enforcement are circulating reports with a new domestic target in mind, anti-technology extremists. More than 1,000 pages, listen to this, of unpublished reports from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and fusion centers obtained by Wired show a national shift taking place to surveil this new and worryingly broad category of people and activities deemed as an emerging threat. So us discussing this at this moment, you all here, we could be considered emerging threat because we have a problem with this. This is violating our First Amendment, our right to free speech, our right to hate speech, our right to feel and discuss something in an open manner, in an open forum. This new effort follows President Donald Trump's National Security Presidential Memo 7, which instructs the Department of Justice to target anyone holding anti-American, anti-Christian, and anti-capitalism beliefs. Really? You know, when are those enforced? Because I see that shit all over the place. Early this month, Trump's counterterrorism czar, Sebastian Gorka, a guy I don't like, released a public counterterrorism strategy claiming that the left-wing extremists are one of the 3 top counterterrorism priorities facing the United States. Taking together, these Trump administration directives have commandeered the domestic surveillance apparatus to surveil, criminalize speech, and assembly that challenges the ideology of the White House. Let me ask you a question. If that was completely true, then what we're seeing right now at Delaney Hall in New Jersey, at the ICE facilities, these people would be rounded up automatically. Why aren't we seeing federal law enforcement come in there? You have the state police. Why aren't there more arrests? Why aren't we just starting snatching and grabbing these people? If this was really true to a certain or lesser degree, but this is not really, let's just say, focused on that. Because what they're doing is they're singling out all the people that are part of Antifa, which is a domestic terrorist organization, and those people are being funded by different groups and sects. This is completely different. A new focus on anti-technology extremism adds to an unreported category to already public designation under a presidency that is heavily invested in political and material capital and AI and data center proliferation. I'll stop you right there, and I'll drop this in the chat. I think I have a problem with this. I am concerned about what I'm seeing. So you have consumer choice that either goes to a behavior tracking system, a modern life that is accelerating through systems and apps and IDs and social platforms, payment systems. Keep that in mind. You have data tracking is a non-participation, still a realistic option. Or are we what? Slowly becoming friction-filled by the design? Do labels matter? The effect, anti-tech extremists. The irrational resistance to what? Progress. Skepticism, a healthy debate, or dismissed because those behind this are being defined as what? Has an acceptable range or not enough for tech opinion. So basically, if you're not smart enough to talk about this subject matter, well, then we'll dismiss you. We'll maybe even arrest you. And they're going to claim that as irrational resistance. these are the discussions going on. And mind you, as I break this down, there are discussions that are happening right now that George Soros is funding both the data, let's just say centers in the United States, while funding the protester groups against them. So the division has been locked in, just like what we see with Antifa, what's going on at the ICE facilities and everything else. So is this hostile takeover in some way a forced acceleration narrative? Or are they playing both sides in some way to make sure that the illustration and structure and organization of all this becomes accelerated and fast-tracked so they get ahead of the narrative and to fool people in thinking there's a bigger element here? Or are there people trying to sabotage this in so many different ways without understanding it because they lack the capacity on understanding and intelligence of this because they don't have an acceptable range of knowledge for an tech opinion? Algorithms and gatekeeping of this visibility. Now, you have structural influence, as you see on X all the time, and many other different Instagram and other platforms. So what you hear, what you see, and how you engage with is filtered by algorithms. That's the big enchilada there. Who gets what amplified, or who gets suppressed? That's the big problem we have on X and many other platforms. Is it by design and not by what? Interaction or intention? You have to consider that. Is it by design or not by intention? Whose design is that? So are there reasons why many people who think Tucker and Candace and all these other people that have opposing opinion about the administration or about anything else you see, and are there amplifications for all these people that are out there, Ian Carroll, you name it, many other people? Were they by design, but not by intention? And whose intention that it was not? And whose design was it by? So I'm considered all these things in general. Here's another point before we dip out of this conversation. Does opting out create friction that will eventually and effectively discourage dissent? Well, think about it. You want to go off the grid. You want to dip out of this. You don't want to be a part of this anymore. Well, you know what? And is this going to change things? Will it eventually and effectively discourage dissent? I mean, if you say, I'm not going to be a part of this and stuff like that, so you not taking part of this, which is a choice, will that hostility and friction help galvanize and organize more tension against this tech oligarchs, as you hear Bannon speak and many other people? I'm not here picking a side. I mean, I would consider myself someone as not a neo-Luddite. I mean, I look at technology in a positive way. How it's being utilized is one thing that I would consider making an assertion. But if it's not being utilized in the proper format, and many times it's not, in many ways it's not, and you could just see it with the UFO UAP disclosure, because all the intentions of having reverse engineered stuff that has now come in new forms of technology, well advanced into the future that we're hidden from us. Well, that doesn't benefit us. That benefits the breakaway civilization, as Richard Dolan talks about. But by refusing platforms, rejecting AI tools, and avoiding digital IDs, what does that do? What does that do? Does that benefit us, or does this make us what? Not part of the machine? And does that label us intentionally as being neo-Luddites, and so they could put us on a watch list? So I don't want to partake in this. I don't want to partake in that. So you don't want to be China. Look at China. Everything that I'm discussing right now is happening in China. Well, one day, soon, near in the future, the creation of a new modern framing that society will be splintering and dividing into those that have integrated versus those that opted out. There is no in between. Just look at China. Those that will be fully embedded in digital ecosystems, and those who refuse, and those who try to limit exposure, economic, social, and employment consequences. Think about what's going on in China as we speak. Are we entering a world where a technological participation is becoming less optional at the moment? And the disagreements about that shift are becoming increasingly the cultural charges and changes that are going to be foisted upon us, and that we're going to have to do something about it. I consider all these things. I'm going to drop this in the chat as well. I want you to read this and understand this, because we don't talk about AI and technology enough. We don't really discuss our future in the way we should. We need to have certain discussions that I think in some way that are changing our lives. It's not just what President Trump is doing in some way, but it's about all these other archetypes that are coming into place, that are coming online, systems that are coming online at a very accelerated or rapid race that many people find uncomfortable with in some way. But the change has to happen. We have to grow. The question is, how fast do we need to grow? How fast do you want it to grow? I mean, how much is it going to impact your life? You guys are quiet tonight. I don't know. I mean, wow. I thought more people would be hot and heavy tonight over this stuff. Here's another thing. I'm going to play this right now. This is great. And we're just going to move forward rather quickly and stuff. I want you to hear this. This is, okay. So Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says this. I mean, he comes in hot and heavy about Bitcoin Magazine. He talks about this, about Iran. Listen to what he said about this. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. government sees $1 billion in Iran's crypto. Wow.
It's, here, they have at it. So we've frozen Iranian bank accounts.
After they started getting bombed by Iran.
Yes, but it was a big strategic
mistake
failure on the financial side.
And you jumped right in.
And we jumped right in. And they've been very good partners. I believe that we have seized about $1 billion of their crypto. And
wow. Just outright seized it.
Just outright grabbed the wallets. Some of them may be like typing in right now and realize they might not have realized that their wallet had been grabbed. And we are working with our allies all over Europe to grab villas and houses and properties. And this is money that's stolen from the Iranian people.
But you've frozen the offshore accounts. I mean, people may not understand that the Revolutionary Guard, they own so many of the businesses. They've been stealing money from the Iranian people.
The president of Iran resigned today, and he complained that the IRGC the military has taken control. So that's what we're dealing with right now. If anybody wanted an update about that came out today. That was released today. So they're taking money from the IRGC and all these wallets and stuff like that. But what are they going to do with that? Are they going to give the money back to the people? What is going to happen in this place? Are they going to be forced into some settlement now because we're taking their money back from them? Listen to this. I thought this was striking. This comes from a guy who does a show, Simply Bitcoin. And like I said, I don't have Bitcoin. I'm saying I don't poo-poo it in any way, but I don't have it. I want you to listen to a couple of minutes. Let me lower the music and stuff if it's bothering you. So let me lower it a little bit. Okay, I want you to listen to this in some way. Peter Thiel, the United States is collapsing soon. He picked J.D. Vance as VP. His co-founder ran Doge from inside the White House. His company has $687 million in active U.S. government contracts. He didn't flee because the plan failed. He fled because it worked. Interesting. Listen to this for a couple minutes.
Breaking news out of Silicon Valley's most paranoid corner. Peter Thiel, whose name, by the way, is a perfect anagram for the reptile, has fled the United States. Not for New Zealand this time, not for Malta, for Argentina. Bought a $12 million mansion in Buenos Aires' most exclusive district. Met privately with President Javier Milei. Argentina reportedly mulling offering him citizenship. And here's what he murmured on his way out the door. The United States is collapsing soon. So the question I want you to sit with for the next 20 minutes is this. Does Peter Thiel know something you don't? Does he know Michael Saylor's Bitcoin is at risk? Because here's what you need to understand. Thiel isn't your standard skeptic. He already sold his Bitcoin, and he hissed while he did it. What Thiel fears is not Bitcoin going to zero. It's something far more precise, something that may have...
I can't turn it up any louder because it's on his own thing. It only goes as loud as I can, Curious Cat. I'm sorry. Let me lower the music so you can hear it more. I'll just pause it. Yeah, it's on his thing, but this is a really good education. I'll just play it a little bit more so you can hear this.
Been engineered years in advance. Something that, if it plays out, takes Bitcoin and strategy down with it in the short to medium term. Palantir knows everything, and its co-founder is quietly getting out. Welcome back. I'm Rustin. Strap the hell in and get chromed up. We got a lot to uncover today, and it is not for the faint of heart, or for those who have their Bitcoin on an exchange Jamie Dimon just declared war against.
So, it's complicated, and the government needs to do it thoughtfully. If they don't do it thoughtfully, it'll be a huge problem.
So are you happy with the way the Clarity Act is turning out?
No, because it allows them to effectively pay interest on deposits, stable coins or something like that, without the protection that they should have. And it doesn't do anything for AML BSA. It has almost no legal protections. So no, the banks will not accept it that way. And the ABA, the small banks, the credit unions, not just the big guys. I'm not worried about stablecoin, but if it happened, I'm telling you, I would have nothing to do with it, and it would eventually blow up on its own. Okay, but that's my personal thing. But I do understand the concern of all the other banks. So,
well, the markup is coming. I mean, what are you going to do about it?
It is. We'll fight it. If we lose, we lose, and we'll live.
Okay.
But it will be fought. This will not be. No one's going to bow down to this guy, okay, or that company. And he's the only one, and he's spending hundreds of millions of dollars in Washington this thing.
He said he's representing the whole
He's
industry.
full of shit.
Whoa.
Well, we're going to watch that one.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is turning into a big fight between the whole, each industry. And you're talking about blockchain and getting blockchain out.
But we do blockchain.
You've been doing that for a long time.
We have connections. We have JP. We're going to do it. I think it's a legitimate technology. I think stablecoin can be a legitimate payment system.
Now, what do Peter Thiel and Jamie Dimon have in common? Well, one of them banked Jeffrey Epstein, and the other one was allegedly busy having very interesting conversations with him about what comes after civilization. Because here's what the DOJ's 3 million document Epstein file dump in February of this year confirmed. Thiel and Epstein met repeatedly. And The Nation ran the headline, and I want you to read this carefully. Both Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Thiel believed that civilization was collapsing. Not feared, not worried about, believed, past tense, foregone conclusion. They shared a worldview, a very precise one. Democracy is a failed experiment. They might be onto something there. The proper response to a dying civilization isn't to save it, it's to position yourself to inherit what comes after. And Thiel's vehicle for that inheritance? Palantir, the surveillance apparatus he built with CIA seed money. In-Q-Tel, the CIA's private equity arm, was the first institutional funder. That company is now embedded in the UK government to the tune of nearly 190 million euros in contracts. It's woven into ICE, the CDC, the FBI, the IRS, the operational infrastructure of multiple governments simultaneously. So when the architect of the global surveillance state packs up and says the U.S. is collapsing, I want to know if he's predicting it or accelerating it. And here's the thing Thiel, Dimon, and Epstein also have in common: deep institutional pathological hatred of Bitcoin. Not cryptocurrency, not digital assets. Bitcoin, the specific one that is unseizable, undebasable, and outside their system of control.
Tech stagnation is that when something does happen, we don't even know how to process it. So, I think Bitcoin was a big invention, whether it was good or bad, but it was a pretty big deal. And it was systematically underestimated for at least, the first 10, 11 years. You could trade it. It went up smoothly for 10, 11 years. It didn't get repriced all at once because we're in a world where nothing big ever happens. And so we have no way of processing it when something pretty big happens. The internet was pretty big in 99. Bitcoin was moderately big. The internet was really big. Bitcoin was moderately big. And I'd say passing the Turing test is really big. It's on the same scale as the internet.
So Wood USA says AI will never be conscious. They want everyone believing there is no God. That's why they've been planting the alien seed since Roswell's CIA clown show. All been planned for this moment in the time and final battle revelation 20 all unfolding now. Yeah, good point. Who else is here? Tired of this beautiful God-given life being interrupted by these greedy narcissists. Yeah, I mean, I get you, Valhalla. I mean, it's embarrassing in general. I want you to hear the rest of this. I mean, I'm only going to play a couple more minutes because this was fascinating that I found this.
Guy literally believes in nothing. Well, except the Antichrist. He is hyper-focused on the Antichrist. Look, that's what he said on Rogan a while ago. But as we showed you earlier, he just recently dumped his bags. Like I said, he never believed in anything besides Antichrist techno-fascism. That's why Epstein funded Brock Pierce and Coinbase. That's why Coinbase became the preferred vehicle for institutional adoption of Bitcoin while remaining the easiest place for a government to freeze your holdings at the request of a banker. These are CBDC people. Always have been, always will be.
I've traced the entire history of Epstein's interaction with different developers and compromised networks that he tried to infiltrate with Peter Thiel in 2011 and beyond.
To try to pull Bitcoin back into the fold?
Yes. Yeah. There were many ops, and I would almost like to do a whole podcast on those different ops in Bitcoin because I was there and I saw them all, and I saw what Brock Pierce tried to do.
What did Brock Pierce try to do?
Well, Brock Pierce, I think, was Epstein's guy in the digital currency space. And he tried to persuade me that Satoshi Nakamoto was Dr. Craig Wright, who's the guy that recently got a year in prison, and I think, not sure if you heard it, for pretending to be Satoshi. And he ended up being an essential part of creating an alternative version of Bitcoin. Brock Pierce also was the co-founder of a stablecoin called Tether. And Tether was later...
So while they were trying in some way to subvert Bitcoin, they were creating and working with to create a stablecoin, a CBDC, that the governments have an opportunity to work with, as what you heard Jamie Dimon talk about, where ability is that you have that, but they can control that. They can shut it off. They can control it. They can stop it. They don't like what you have to say about it. You know, like if you have this anti-technocratic attitude, as we're saying, or they call you a neo-Luddite, well, we'll shut off your stuff so you have no money coming in and out. So this whole thing was created as an alternative for Bitcoin, which Bitcoin is probably the most stable in general, and it's protected. When you see this in some way, and it's yours, you have it. But when you look at how these people are talking about the fight within this in some way, so was Peter Thiel dipping out for different reasons in some way that we're not really understanding at the moment? I don't know what his intentions were, and I don't really care at this point whether he's on the run or not. But something is amiss here, and I think that the fact is that many articles that put Technocracy News and The Guardian are discussing where we're going with AI and the acceleration in its philosophy that keeps pushing a narrative that a lot of people are not ready for in some way. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to lead to. I don't know where it's going to go to. But I find it in not a stark contrast of the UFO UAP disclosure in some way, but there might be a causal connection that both will gain some type of prominence in some way, and predominance in some way, whether they cancel each other out or not, or one's getting ahead of the other. I mean, ask yourself, why are we releasing all this stuff now at this time? And so far, what I've seen is nothing. So we're the accelerationists in expediting that amount of information. It's a slow drip and stuff, and we're supposed to digest and take it in. Well, we all talk about what we're seeing right now. I mean, AI is all over the place. You chat GPT, Grok, and stuff like that. People are utilizing all these different type of, let's just say, subsets in it to work on their podcast and their thumbnails and many other different things. So we see it on a daily basis, but we're not really, touching and broaching the subject as far as we should. Let me show you one more discussion here as we move on. And, I got like about 15 minutes left, and then I'll just fast track it. But I want to show you another one because I want to stay on this future thing. So Futurism puts it out. Random standard Wi-Fi routers can scan your body. Does anybody have a Wi-Fi router in their home? I have one. I have a massive one. I have a private one. Can scan your body to identify exactly who you are. So looked at the routers and stuff like that. They have settings on it that you could block all this stuff. So if you have a router, I would suggest you go in there and control the settings and stuff. But they can control and identify who you are, alarming new research finds. With the hardware making the way into millions of homes, the privacy concerns are severe. So every day, our privacy, our First Amendment rights are just shipped away. Look, let's be clear. I'm not going to lie to you. I think eventually in the future, the privacy's out the door. It no longer exists unless you live off the grid, unless you become a neo-Luddite and you basically just want to wipe everything away. You want to move off of this completely, and you don't want to have any part of it. And it's, more probable than not that people are going to go this way. If you're paranoid about digital tracking before, you might want to think twice about reading anything further. New research out of Germany's Kirschlar Institute of Technology found that the types of Wi-Fi routers all in your homes come with major privacy vulnerabilities. Wow. That could be used to identify any human body that comes within their range. The study flagged by Gizmodo used the machine learning systems to identify individuals with an accuracy rate of 99.5%. To do so, researchers exploited the vulnerability in a process known as beam-forming feedback information, BFI, which was introduced to allow routers to focus Wi-Fi signals on connected devices as opposed to older approach, which is to blanket an entire area in coverage. While BFI is great for a network connectivity, it has major downsides for privacy for starters devices connected to a router using the beam-forming need to send constant feedback in order to be found. As routers send out and receive network feedback, the signal is inevitably impacted by real-world factors like pets, walls, and people. The gap between the signals routers expect to receive and distorted feedback that actually get allowed researchers to extrapolate the identities of 161 individual participants based on BFI data, which inadvertently map their physical characteristics, even when individuals changed their gait or carried objects like backpacks or crates. Gait is the way you walk. The system registered an accuracy rate between 50 and 60%, the KIT team wrote. Wow! This works similar to a normal camera, the difference being that in this case, radio waves instead of light waves are used for recognition. This is amazing. This story is insane. So if you have any types of scenarios at home with a router at home, I would suggest you do something to shield it. Now, you could do things in a lot of different ways to protect yourself, and I'm going to tell you, you should do that. Now, there are settings that you can go in this. You can also wrap it up with tinfoil. You could also do something, putting it around in a Faraday cage in some way to harness that out, to block the signals that it's seeing in some way. Privacy gone as soon as smartphones were introduced. Yeah, they have been gone a long time ago. Facebook, all of them. They took all that stuff. It's too fresh at this point in this time. Yeah, I know. But this revelation is that if you have router, and that's why I'm saying VPNs are very good. You need to have them in some way. Now, they're not going to block this signal out there, but you can buy VPN routers. You know that. There are VPN routers that are expensive. All right. But I would suggest that you wrap this up in some Faraday cage or some aluminum foil to control yourself to block these types of signals that actually identify exactly who you are. I mean, this is extraordinary information that's being revealed. So even though that we're doing everything we can to protect our, let's just say, our privacy, you have to consider, are these Wi-Fi routers also utilized to what? Steal your information. That's why I say use a VPN in a lot of different ways. Man, you know what? I as much as I don't want to be a neo-Luddite, I mean, you can't say the future is not scary. You cannot say right now, you cannot press upon people to want to push back more in this. They don't trust the data centers. They don't trust the creation of all these things about the energy absorption and the let's just say the water delineation and all these other things that are going to target on resources in some way, jobs and many other things. You know, there's a lot of things that we could be discussing about this. I don't know where we're going with this at all. I really don't. And I think we should have a conversation, a pushback. I am concerned about Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist. And I've always believed in some way that this is how they're going to release the Antichrist. It wasn't going to be some guy from Eastern Europe or Europe that was an ambassador like in the movies, like Damien, that's going to come to power in some way out of there with the mark of the beast in some way. I think they were creating and generating their AI golden god in many ways for a long time. And this is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to be subservient to it in some way. Reminds me with that, what's it, 70s movie? Where Run Runner, what was that 70s? Logan's Run, a great sci-fi movie. You want to talk about a great sci-fi movie. That's what I think the future after civilization had just collapsed and war had broke out. A new enterprise created. And I think this AI golden god where you turn 30, you basically, you're sacrificed in some way. And I think that's what it turns out to be in a lot of different ways. Consider it. Thank you, Senior Polo, for the 300 gold pills. Let's continue on here. Yeah. All right. A couple more things and we'll get out of here. So, I'm still on this push about what we're seeing, what happened out of Texas, and good job for everybody in Texas that voted for Ken Paxton. But this guy, Tellerico, it's popping back up. Here's the video. This is persistent Scott Pressler. He goes, here's the video of Democrat James Tallarico calling God non-binary. Now look, Scott Pressler's gay, okay? And so you could see his seething here, and he's saying, look, this is a problem. God is both masculine and feminine, and everything is in between. In the same breath, Tallarico says trans children are perfect, beautiful, and they're sacred. No, Tallarico, God isn't non-binary. This is ugly. This is ugly. And if you are in Texas and you have to vote in November against this guy, you better. For the sake of Texas, for the sake of the country, for Texas pride, for the reality of your culture and what we've been fighting for, this this ambiguous gay guy who pretends he's got a girlfriend he met at a gay bar, this guy is gay. He's more than gay. Other gay men have called out this guy being gay. All right, Scott Pressler's calling him out, and he's gay. I mean, he can smell it on him. But this ambiguity that he utilizes to have some fake girlfriend and stuff that he met at a gay bar now, say, to push this, to hide this away. This is what they do. We've seen this before in the Trump administration. There was a guy in the Department of Transportation who was secretary, who was also mayor from a small town, that pretended to be gay, that adopted a child. Whether he was not or not, it didn't matter. This is exactly the same shit they're pulling, and they do this quite well.
Of testimony on this bill. The worst part for me was the number of Christians who used scripture to justify hurting children. Even on this floor today, a member tried to justify a hateful amendment in the name of God's law. So let's talk about that. The first two lines of the Bible, the first two lines in Genesis, use two different Hebrew words to describe God. One is the masculine Hebrew noun for divinity. The second is the feminine Hebrew noun for spirit. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary. In Genesis 1:26, God speaks of God's self in the plural.
I never recalled reading the Bible and going to catechism and going to Catholic school, ever reading that God was non-binary, that God was a man, born a boy, okay, grew up to be a man, died at 33 with 12 other men, apostles there by his side. What are you talking about? What pastor are you? He claims he's a pastor. What is a pastor from? Are you from a non-ambiguous gay cult? Where are you getting your talking points? He is bereft of any information out there. He's completely lying to people. Yes, Senor Polo, not just gay, but a pedo. He wakes up thinking about trans kids. What sick person thinks about that? Like, the only thing I think about trans kids, I blame the parents. The trans shooters, well, that shows you they're mentally defrocked, and you know what? They have mental health problems. They're evil and sick and twisted, and they're converting and twisting this in some way. The fact that this is a senator in your state that's running for election again, I mean, it's just embarrassing. I thought we went through this. I thought we fixed this. When you have Cory Booker, who's another gay Democrat senator out of New Jersey, who made comments about another Democrat candidate that's running for Senate, we're going to cover very soon, that's in Maine. You know, he doesn't have a problem with this guy because he's okay with the gay and trans and stuff, but he's got a problem with the other guy because he's got a tattoo on there. He was schmoozing with other women while he's married. I'm going to show you the contrast and comparison about this. Let's listen to the rest of this.
Saying, let us make human beings in our image to be like us. That's the infinite multitude of God. The masculine, the feminine, and everything in between. Trans children are God's children, made in God's own image.
I'm disgusted hearing that. That's embarrassing. That's offensive. That's offensive. Yes, God's children, he loves all of us. He loves all of us nonetheless and nevertheless. I get that. But they're not made in the image, all right? Their image was made the moment they were born. When they wanted to what? Play let's hide the Adam's apple. Let's substitute the private parts out. Let's play games loosey-goosey and play Dr. Frankenstein. That's not God's image. That's Satan's image. That's Baphomet. Bullshit. To say that is blasphemy. Embarrassing. That guy better not fucking win Texas. If you're living in Texas, you need to get out there and vote. Crush and smash those polls. He's an embarrassment to your state. The stars and stripes are shining bright. You need to be out there making sure in the midterms that guy doesn't even come close to winning your Senate, to be an elected representative of what this great state of Texas believes in. There is no way. Embarrassing. All right, I'm just going to cover a little bit about this. All right, I'll just put this out because we're running out of time. So Twitchy puts this out there. There's a guy running against Collins. All right, Susan Collins, Senator of Maine, Democrat. He's a radical. It's crazy. Democrats are twisting themselves into desperate pretzels defending Planter. Here's some of the dumbest stuff. So this guy that's running, we are surprised that the party elected Jay Jones, who openly fantasized about shooting Republicans and wished for his kids to suffer and die, is bending itself into pretzels defending a pervert Nazi in Maine. Yes, he is. He has a special tattoo on his chest that he bragged about. He's also in quite of a controversy with text messages and sexting. He's married. He's running. So Planter couldn't have sexted my mom. I still vote for him. These people are crazy. Dude, gross. At this point, I'm convinced that Planter was offered a deal that he wouldn't take. That's why the UN party is so obsessed with him. They simply cannot allow an actual dissident into the Senate. Not as long as the filibuster still exists. Yes, crazy woman. It's all a plot. The only part that matters here, except no one, the part really matters is Planter's character, and clearly it sucks. When Graham's nudes inevitable leak that will make him the first senator with public dick pics, or am I forgetting someone? Scott Brown had some sexy pics themselves. Don't recall full nudes. But this guy, Graham Planter, who's running against Susan Collins, this is a big thing. You have Cory Booker pushing against, and they said he should drop out. So now they're all, in some way, circling the wagons for Susan Collins because she's a rhino cuck. And they can't imagine allowing someone that's so far radical, that has problems, okay, in some way keeping his dick in his pants or not taking a picture of it or sexting other women, all right? And also, what? Admitting that he's slaying all these women and all these other things. Well, we can't toe that line because that's not acceptable in the Democrat Party. Only acceptable in the Democrat Party is being gay or trans, black, or something else. Can't have that. And have a guy with something that is representative of the Nazi Party. I don't think he has a swastika, but he has a skull on his thing that is symbolic to something that they say, well, we can't have that. All right, because they're calling us Nazis in so many ways. But this guy apparently is riled up a lot of Senate Democrats who don't want him there. And they're rallying for who? Susan Collins. What does that tell you? Can always count on our friends at the Bulwark to be on the wrong side of every issue. Absolutely love Sarah Longwell calling me a creep while she happily sits on stage next to this shit for nickels. This is all about this guy. Israel in the building. So on the brand of Bulwarkers, and speaking of being on the brand, Israel's in the building telling us Americans how we have to vote for Israel's asset inside the Senate. They hate real American families. Why do you think media is attacking Planter nonstop? See, again, they're saying that Susan Collins, she gets a lot of money from Israel, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And the pushback against this guy is because he's a man. He likes to be braggadocious and boast about his sexual whatever, latencies or tendencies or what have you. Senk is in the room right now under your bed. A lot of this stuff, I'm just showing the twitchy stuff. I have to say, that if the reason you don't want to support a candidate is because his wife chose not to share that, he went through marriage counseling to deal with infidelity, that's your choice. But do you think there are other factors in the race that we'll have more of? Okay, so I'll show you that, and I'll show you the town hall real quickly. I think the problem is, in some way, is that the Democrat Party they don't know how this candidate got up there. And they don't think, a lot of people think now he's not going to win because he's got this sexting fiasco. My dude's the least of it. There's so many other issues. I mean, good God, what a paragraph this comes out. Planter's campaign is collapsing, and it's just the beginning of the opposition research. Now, I think in some way that the Nazi tattoos, who masturbates in porta potties, who basically talks about the training Antifa like group, smeared rural voters, marginalized PTSD, and combat veterans, even told one who was shot multiple times they didn't deserve to live. This is all coming back. And this is quintessentially what is representational of the radical left. They've gotten to this point is that anybody can rise to power or fame, and the campaign will be supportive. But you have Democrat senators now saying we can't have this. This is too far gone. Even though we allow people from third world countries like Ilhan Omar from Somalia, who's part of the Grift and Graft, that's okay. And I think in some way, because he's not gay, because he's white, because he might have some symbol on his chest, because of these sexing messages, that has nothing to do with this. They are rallying around Susan Collins to support her because they feel that this alternative will be far worse for what they can possibly endure, because they know on the greater grand scale, they're going to be exposed. And when Cory Booker comes out, who's a gay black man who doesn't like this, that tells you the gig is up and they're fucked. So the question is, will they push back about what they need to see here? Or are they only selectively choosing this guy because he just happens to be married, maybe dips out on his wife, had sexting issues, likes dick pics, and he's white, and this tattoo on his chest is problematic? Amy Gertner, who married Planter in 2024, told the campaign about messages she found earlier in their marriage. In spring of 2025, in late August, as some aides were conducting opposition research in their own candidate, Gertner disclosed the text campaign. All right. And those people said the campaign has been preparing for the major rally over Labor Day weekend last year with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who set to officially endorse Planter at the event. Aides ultimately decided the texts were a private matter and that being handled. In a statement provided by Planter's campaign, Gertner said she believed she was confiding in an aide she considered a friend. We did hard work through the marriage requires, blah, blah, blah. We went to counseling. We were honest with each other, she said, and we came through it. You notice Bernie Sanders is supporting this guy. So Bernie Sanders is really supporting this guy. And you see other senators who are definitely not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is out there on the social deep plank, the communism wing of the party in some way. It's problematic for them. Okay, the last things we'll lead with right now. That just shows you right now, the Rhino Party, the Rhino Cuck Party, all this stuff, they circle in the Uniparty. It's all involved. See, Bernie Sanders is going to support this guy. The question is, how many other people are going to get behind him? I doubt many, because he's white. If he was black, this would be okay. But I think the tattoo on there pushes certain senators away and certain people in the party to this. But how this is going to look in the main audience, because look, Susan Collins is garbage. She votes against President Trump all the time. She's a stick in the mud. She's outdated. She's got health problems. I don't know if she survives this. I really don't. And if she loses this, it's going to be bad for the GOP and Senate in general. But I think President Trump in the end will support her because he knows he has no alternative. All right, let's leave you with some of this good stuff that's going on here. All right, I have to go through this because this is part of the show. All right, I'm just going to leave you this. FCC wants warning labels for shows with transgender content. I'll leave you with that. The Federal Commission, the Federal Communications Commission is considering new content ratings for TV shows that depict or discuss gender identity. Doing so would be well outside the FCC's legal authority, and some free speech organizations warn that such a request could constitute a violation of the First Amendment. Wait a minute. You do this for violence, for smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, for language, all these other things that are broadly put in there that you want to put in there as a warning label, but you can't put this in there. Do you see where this is going in some way? The government now suggests warnings are no longer sufficient. Recently, parents have raised concerns that controversial gender identity issues are being included or promoted in children's programs. Yeah, and are providing without proper disclosure or transparency to parents. Yep. That's a public notice. This is fantastic. That's reason.com. You should look at that, and I think people should consider that because I don't want to see any of this Fruit Loops in my Fruit Loops. I'm tired of all the Fruit Loops. All right. It's got to go away. It's got to be done. We got to take this down. It's embarrassing. All right. I'm just going to show you a couple of things of some of the greatest, I think, memes that are coming out, or these AI generated videos of of Spencer Pratt's campaign. These things, I've seen 100 of these things. I am so enthralled with these things. It makes me invigorated to think that this guy's going to win on Tuesday. All right. And you know what? Whoever is working by design to do these things, it's fantastic. It's pragmatic. It's problem solving. It's not divisive. He's working to fix LA. It's more common sense. I think it's brutal. And I think the whole thing about the dog God analogy really relates to people who love dogs, who are animal lovers, who are cavalier lovers, who love pets in some way. They're not being raped, abused, tortured, and killed. I think that really sends a signal and a message to many people out there, especially in the chat, to all of us out there. Let's watch this.
Ladies, we have returned from Earth.
Did humans finally solve traffic?
No, Los Angeles is still arguing with itself.
But we discovered one extraordinary human, Spencer Pratt.
Spencer Pratt? The TV show guy?
More than that, he navigated chaos with confidence. We watched him survive LA traffic, internet comments, and juice cleanses. His wisdom levels exceeded our planetary computers.
You mean he's brave?
Brave.
Handsome?
Our scanners overheated trying to calculate it.
Intelligent?
He convinced 3 influencers to stop taking selfies for 7 whole minutes.
Stop Spencer immediately. Perhaps our species needs a Spencer hybrid ambassador.
This is the third weirdest thing that happened to me this week.
These things are brilliant. I have to tell you, they are absolutely magnificent. You know, I'm saying you have to consider whoever is doing this, and there's more. I got more. I'm just going to show you this before we dip out, and then these things are fantastic. You have to appreciate these things. They are gold, and I want to show it to you. So here it is. This is called Entering the Illusion. American Debunk puts this out and amplifying it into absurdity. Yes, it's so absurd. It's so batshit crazy. It gets you to think. It gets you to what? Be commonsensical. It's not counterattacking Bass and the ideology which he represents. It's accepting the ideology and amplifying it. A total kill shot. That's exactly predicated out there perfectly. So good job, American Debunk. He perfectly examined this in a well-positioned. How these things are being facilitated and orchestrated out is just glorious.
Honey, we need to talk. We saw the things you've been searching online. Spencer Pratt? Really?
In this house, we don't believe in Spencer Pratt. He's MAGA.
What about Spencer Pratt is MAGA?
You know those streets downtown? The ones that are full of piss and shit and homeless people? He wants to clean them up.
And those neighborhoods that burned down? The Palisades? Malibu? He wants to rebuild them.
You know how people inject heroin in front of children at the park? He wants to stop that.
And that's MAGA?
Yes. It's a very dangerous ideology.
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you, yeah, Common Spence, very good, Trusty Turnip. Use Common Spence. It's fantastic. I have to tell you, I'm completely, thoroughly impressed. If this guy doesn't win, then it's rigged. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get a Republican governor in California, but that would also be fantastic as well. But ultimately, I think Spencer Pratt is really pushing the narrative envelope in some way. Prattman for the win. Yep. I just think so. I don't know what's going to happen with the governorship. I mean, I think it's going to be, I'll be shocked if they win, if a Republican wins in California, which it has happened. Schwarzenegger won, but it was a different time. Maybe people are realizing they need it. I don't know. It depends on where they stand. If Pratt wins, then they have a shot. Then they have a shot for a governorship. Then we'll see what happens and see what changes. Maybe the mindset, the hive mind, will start to what? Flicker in and out into a different reality, another dimension that could alter this trajectory exponentially. I don't know. Tweakers for Bass, yeah. So Spencer Pratt, there's a reason why look at this, and I like this because as a dog lover, as a Cavalier lover, as someone who loves animals, who loves Cavaliers, there's a reason dog is just God backwards. They share an unconditional love for mankind. That's absolutely true. When you wake up, they smile. When you leave, they're always there wagging your tail. It is a great analogy. Both Nithia and Karen Bass. Is that Nithia? Nithia? Who gives a fuck? Some fucking third world name anyway. And Karen Bass ignored these poor animals being killed on Skid Row and in their city shelters. They don't care. I will put an end to this horror. Vote to save animals. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'm not going to play all of it. Let's just listen a little bit.
Is his unconditional love for mankind. The very same thing is the defining characteristic of dogs. Unconditional love for us. It's no wonder the dog is just God backwards. These heavenly animals are so faithful to us. They don't judge us. They don't care if we live in a mansion or on the streets. They stick by our side. They put their full faith and trust in us. And right now, a lot of bad people are betraying their faith and abusing these poor animals in the streets on Skid Row and in Karen Bass LA city shelters.
Questions are being raised about 2 dogs euthanized at the South LA Animal Shelter that rescue groups say were on hold for pickup.
Larry Seahorn and his family thought they were set to pick up 6-year-old Indigo on October 21st. They recently lost their beloved 15-year-old pit bull Tonka to cancer and were ready to open their home and hearts to another dog. Both the rescue group and Seahorn say a deadline for pickup was never communicated by the shelter during their phone call, and they planned to pick up Indigo before the shelter closed at 5 p.m. No one arrived for Indigo at 8 a.m., and the shelter received no further communication that morning, so Indigo was euthanized at noon.
Disgraceful.
It's heartbreaking to see these animals that are perfectly
Disgraceful.
good, as an example, go to their death for no reason.
Despite California code, which states no adoptable animal should be euthanized if it can be adopted into a suitable home, they say perfectly healthy dogs without behavioral issues are killed because the shelters are overcrowded.
Breaks my
Well,
heart.
she calls them no-kill shelters. They are murdering thousands of dogs here, and they just lie. On Skid Row, addicts are torturing dogs to death, stuffing them in trash bags and lighting them on fire, testing their drugs on them till
What
they
the
overdose
fuck?
and die. They breed puppies to sell them for drugs. Everywhere you look, you see animals covered in open sores, riddled with flies, being beaten, starved. The abuse and neglect is so horrific, it's overwhelming, and it must stop.
When you hear the description,
I think that's enough. I honestly, I'm going to say things that I probably will get me kicked off, but that is absolutely god-awful terrible, but great job by Spencer Pratt explaining the truth of what's going on, what's being covered up. Senior Polo gifted the can. Nowadays, don't employees go through your social media before hiring? Why doesn't the government do it? Yeah, that's a good point. Senior Polo, thank you for the 300 gold pills. Thea for the 700 gold pills, and Senior Polo again for the 300 gold pills. Yeah, I mean, look, it's this whole thing is absolutely embarrassing, and it's sad. It breaks my heart. But I give it to Spencer Pratt for really running a great campaign. Whoever's doing his work on social media and putting these things out, he's done a fantastic job. I'm going to drop the gold pills right now. I want to thank everybody for supporting the platform. We went over our time, but that's it. I wanted to show you. I'm just enthralled with these things, and that was very heartfelt. It's very touching when I'm hearing. Yeah, I heard they're testing their drugs on their dogs first. It's pretty disgusting in some way. Reminds you of Fauci, doesn't it? Remember? I mean, it reminds you of Fauci all the time when you hear about stuff like that. It breaks my heart. It does. It should break your heart too. But this is the world we live in. We have monsters all over the place. We have zombies all over the place. We have all these cretins doing horrible things. There's also one in black and white, Alita. Oh, you're talking about? Yeah, I have to find more of this stuff on X. I'll have to look for more of this. I'll have to single them out. I'll have to find them on Grok or what have you and stuff. So, well, that's our show for tonight. I dropped all the gold pills. I want to thank you for being here on the Sunday sound bites. I got to get more doing these shows and stuff. I want to thank, let's see, who was out on the leaderboard. Thank you, Thea, for the 2,000 gold pills. Senior Polo for the 1.2. And Wood USA dropping 934. Oh, thank you, One Thunder. Gifted the can. Yeah, way too late. Glad I caught the end. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. You can watch it on replay. It's all out there on YouTube and Rumble and obviously here on Pilled. Well, that's our show for this evening. I will return with Marshall Smith tomorrow for the We Are Rise show trifecta. Have a great night. Be well, be safe, be smart. Take care. Happy Sunday. Have a good evening. Have a blessed evening. And, let's pray. We hope he wins in LA. You know what I'm saying? Let's hope that we can get through this 250 years really at a high level, a high bar in some ways. I think there's a lot to think about of where we're going and what's happening. And I have to tell you right now, you should be at a fever pitch about where a country should be going. And you should be calling out people who don't want to participate in loving this country based solely on politics. Politics aside, all right, if you don't want to love this country, then get the fuck out and fuck off. Don't spend your money to any of these sports, entertainment, music, or what have you, because they hate you. They loathe you. And obviously, if you support President Trump, that's it. They don't care. They just want to get paid, and they don't care about anything else. And good for President Trump of ending this once and for all. That's a show for this evening. Good night.